for anybody, for all those of you who rather not to be recorded, just so you know. So you can either drop off, which we certainly hope you do not do, or don't engage your camera. So today we've got Rhonda Lavaldo from the chair of the Media Communications Department at Haskell Indian Nations University. And the idea for today, we're still in the process of working out our arrangement with Adobe. We anticipate it certainly will happen, and we will be providing tools to the the Creative Cloud tool set to faculty and students who want to use them. And we are figuring out a vehicle for doing that efficiently so we can maximize access by as many students and faculty as possible. But today, in addition to discussing some more ideas for making that happen, and again, all of your ideas and thoughts are absolutely welcome, and we encourage you to plug in. Rhonda's going to give us a bit of an overview about the Media Communications program and the work she's done with her students using Adobe Creative Cloud. And hopefully she's got a couple of examples lined up to show us what students have worked on, to encourage all of us to think about similar kinds of projects that faculty and students can work on at other tribal colleges. So Rhonda, if that's enough of an introduction, if what you're about to present is anywhere in the ballpark of what I described.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so my program is just a 2-year program, and basically what it gets our students ready for if they want to go into a journalism career. And so we have 15 hours that are required, and I try to do it so it's multimedia based, so they're learning all the different software that Adobe has to offer. So we have a video production 1 class where they learn Premiere Pro, and then a second video production class. They can either do video production 2, or they can do a television news class, or they can do an internship. And we used to have an internship partner with the local TV station here in Lawrence, but then they kind of just went away because, I don't know, I guess it wasn't producing money or something. So that kind of sucked, because like our students were really, really good workers for them, and they loved having our students work for them because they said they knew how to do a lot of stuff. But we can still do internships at their local places, wherever they're at. We also do partnership with the Native American Journalists Association, and usually at least one of our students goes into their fellowships, and those usually happen during the conference, of course, because everything's shut down. They still do the fellowship. We have one student who's going to be doing that fellowship, but it's all going to be virtual online as well. So we have ways that our students can put their stuff to use. I have many students that work for tribal media now down in Oklahoma, and then a few students who have gone on to a journalism school. And then I've actually had the first 2 students who have graduated with their master's in journalism. So that's, to me, is like, now you can take over the program when it's my time to leave. So that's a really, I guess, a good thing, producing these communicators for not only their tribes, but also mainstream media as well. So it's always awesome to see what they're doing with the stuff they've learned. And they often come back and say, it's good stuff to have, when they're picking up other freelance gigs as well. So I didn't know, can I share a screen?
Yes, you should.
Oh, okay.
Have permission.
Okay, let me see. And so I was going to show some of our stuff. Well, first of all, our students produce the Indian Leader. And so that's the school newspaper. So that gives them an hands-on learning experience that they can write their own stories and do whatever they need to do to get information out to their students. And even though we are, again, virtual, they are still producing content for the students, as well as making the students aware of any issues happening. So they have this online presence, but majority of the students go to the Facebook page. But it's good to see that they're uploading and updating their content. So they do use Adobe InDesign to produce their newspaper. So this is the online. And trying to grab onto this. So this is the PDF version that they use to produce the newspaper virtually. This was their last newspaper that they put out in the summer. And it has the students who graduated virtually this summer. So they asked for all of them to send a picture in. Of course, they didn't get all of them, but this was how they were recognizing our students that graduated. And again, all the students do this on their own. You know, they put the stories together, everything. I have no part of what they write or anything like that. The only thing that I help them with is if they need help writing the stories or they want me to read through the stories just to make sure they're okay. But for the most part, I don't look at any of the stories before they post them. And of course, the Black Lives Matter movement is a big issue right now. So they made sure they address that. So part of my students, the news class, they do have their own newscasts, and this was one of them. I'll play this.
Oh, can you enable the audio? I'm not sure.
Oh, was it working?
We could see it, but we can hear it.
Oh, wow.
Seems like there's a place in your video.
Do you have headphones on?
Oh, I do. That's probably it. I'll take them
I do
out.
that all the time.
Okay. So the funny thing about this this newscast was this student designed this whole background, and we have a green screen in our studio. So I was really surprised that he had come up with this whole little background moving image.
I'm Josh Bell. Reed Williams went to the Alaskan Club's demonstration of their Olympics.
We're here at Tecumseh and we're showing people around Haskell what our traditional games are and what they meant to us physically, mentally, strength, and endurance throughout the winters and summers. And coming here and bringing the games to another Indigenous people, it's amazing to watch and a good experience, and it makes me feel at home. And I'm very glad that I decided to put this on the Arctic Games. There's plenty of other games, but so little time just to show all the games to other people. And this is a really good experience for all the people around here that doesn't know other games throughout Indigenous people.
Many Haskell students went to the KU powwow that was on April 1st. A decision was made to cut the track and fields program. Here's Reed with the story.
In this past month, Acting Athletic Director Gary Tanner has announced that next year, Haskell will not have a track and field team. The reasoning behind this is because the university claims it isn't providing adequate facilities at Haskell, a proper coaching staff, or a budget that allows for a competitive program. Despite knowing that after this season there will be no program, Coach Gibb and his student athletes haven't given up and are still running and training to compete in the few meets days they have left.
9:30.
So this is like, that's the television news class that I have. And so they produce their own newscast. They put the whole stuff together and, you know, decide on whatever content they're going to do. The other thing that I have them do, this is from the first, so for the video class, the first video production class, one of the final projects I have them work on is a public service announcement. And so I have like strict things on there, how long it's supposed to be. They have to have real statistics in their PSA, and then they have to refer to like a website. So it's, you know, it's a real PSA. And this was the first time we've had this was the first time we've had a student who they did kind of just, there was no people in it, but it was like a stop motion. So I thought this was really cute. Oh, let me start it over. I don't know why. Oh yeah, there goes my audio.
Waste is a huge problem for everyone that lives on this earth. 700 species have entered marine debris. 92% of those interactions are with plastic. Not only is ocean waste hurting animals and contaminating our food, but it causes financial burden as well. Waste covers 1.6 million square kilometers, which is twice the size of Texas. For more information, visit theoceancleanup.com.
So that was, and they do these in group projects. So they have like three members in them. And then let's see, one of my students, so they go on and they can make these videos and they put them for newspaper articles as well. So one of my students made this video for an article she wrote about the Kansas City football team.
Sometimes when the coaches don't know, they can take good stuff, not doing secrets. So I know I won't. So you guys never want to offend anyone.
So they, yeah, so they do like those pieces to go along with their stories and Indian leader. And I think, you know, they're informing people a lot of times and a lot of issues that a lot of people don't realize that Haskell's really involved with, you know, things that surround them in the community here in Lawrence, here in Kansas City. Unfortunately, you know, we can't have that, you know, now because because we don't have any students with us. And so I think they get really good at developing their video skills, especially if they're really into editing, and they want to always make their own films. It's gotten so big that we had a film festival. We had a film festival almost every year, and the last one we had, usually we would bring in like big films so that students could watch these big native films. But last year was the first time we had films that were all done by our students. And so to me, that was really impressive that we could actually build up that much content, that we had our own film festival for high school students. And I don't know if you guys go to the American Indian College Fund Film Festival, or not American Indian College Fund, the AHEC Film Festival, and they have films from students all across the country that show in one room, and you can just sit in there and they just play them over and over again. We always have students participating in it, even so much that we have to make decisions on who's allowed to submit, because you're only allowed like 5 entries per school. And so we have to decide like who gets to submit their films. But there's a lot of talented students out there. Like they know what they want to do and what they want to present, and it really impresses me what they do. One last one I'll show you. So I have my students do a kind of like a video of what's it like to, I want them to show the perspective of Haskell. And if a student's trying to decide if they want to come to school here, like, what would you want to see? And I always tell them, before you even came here, what was the questions you wanted answered about Haskell? And so I had this student who did this video, what is it like to go to Haskell? And he did the entire thing, the whole idea, the whole concept by himself. And so I thought it was really, really good.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to go to Haskell Indian Nations University? If so, check out the student's typical day.
All right, I'm about to head to my class, English 2, and we have an author about to read, so that's where I'm going right now. All right, I just got out from class. I'm about to head into Curtis. My class will be out soon, so I better be going. Right now, I'm about to head into physical science. After classes, I'd like coming to the Student Success Center to print off a homework. Now that my classes are done, I'll do a little bit of R&R with the grill house and do some purple threads. This is the library, and I'm about to turn in the book, so let's go. This is my dorm, and I'm done for the day. Hey, I was just about to check out the Haskell Art Market and Powwow. Go!
Have you?
So that's just one, one idea that the students did. And I was really surprised that one of the things I noticed, like when I first get students, they're really, really shy. And I don't know if you guys see this happening in your classes. They're really shy and they don't want to talk a lot. But having these video classes really brings it out on them, like that they, I don't know, like they just break that mold of not being shy anymore. And that the kid that's the main person in that video, when I first met him, he was so shy. I would never have expected him to be the main actor in this promo video. And I was just really impressed at how open he was. But that's like one of the good things I think about having media classes is that it brings out our students' characters. And so if anything, that's one of the benefits of having multimedia and, teaching classes like this. And I would, for Adobe, I would say, one of the things that, that can benefit a relationship with them, with tribal colleges, is to just get out our native student stories. So many of them have a story to tell. And like the kid that came from Alaska who decided to, do those Alaskan Native games, when that was happening, we do have about, I would say about 15 students that come from Alaska, and having their voices heard in that way is really awesome. But when I saw the video, I was like, wow, I'm really impressed that many people showed up just to see what types of games they do and stuff like that. So it really makes our students feel included in events that go on at Haskell, not just going to a powwow, but also learning about Alaskan Native traditional dances as well, or Apaches or Pueblo dances or stuff like that. So, but looking at those videos, it kind of makes me homesick now because we don't have our students no more or those events, but hopefully we'll get back to that in the near future. So I don't know. And you guys had any questions?
Well, thank you. That was a great overview of the program and some great examples of students' work. I guess one question that I would throw out there is, you mentioned, I think last week or the week before, the idea of offering some media courses to students beyond Haskell. What were you thinking? How were you thinking about doing that?
I think probably the best ones, well, I'm doing all my stuff online right now, so I don't think it would be that difficult. Digital photography is pretty simple. We did get our licenses, so all I had to do was send out those licenses to the students, and then I have them watch a video on how to, do certain things with Photoshop, and then I have them do that on the Photoshop license that I sent them. So that's really simple to do. Learning that tool, and as well as InDesign, would be pretty simple as well to do online. The video is a little bit more difficult because even just having the class right now, I asked my students if they had access to a camera. For the most part, I'll use their phone camera. But what I like to do is to have our students learn how to manually operate a video camera. So we have like a Panasonic standard camera that they can manipulate the filters, the irises, everything, as opposed to what you see in your phone. So that's probably the only difficulty I see, but I think there's a need for us to teach media to other tribal colleges that may not have a person who has a knowledge of that. And I don't know what your your accreditation standards are. Like for us, like in order to teach those classes, you have to have your degree in that background. So like my degree is in journalism, mass communication, and broadcasting. So, you know, I'm able to teach those classes. And I don't know if other TCUs have that standard as well. But I mean, I'd be more than willing to push for an MOU to offer with TCUs that would want to partner with Haskell.
And that might be the right way to do it, is with an MOU. I mean, with the idea of, say, so we have a group, you know, or a team of faculty, tribal college faculty and staff who have the qualifications to teach, you know, digital media, and maybe some sort of an MOU where the colleges that want to have that those courses available to their students would agree that the faculty who are delivering would be adjunct faculty, but they would be able to offer credit for the courses, so students are getting something that's, you know, helping them towards their degree. I think that would be, that's something that we could work out, and maybe get that started in the spring semester. And right now, you know, with the idea that the arrangement with Adobe will happen pretty soon, maybe right now we could kind of lay the groundwork, do some, you know, training, some demo projects, maybe just get the word out that this is happening, and we're anticipating to have something actually, an actual academic program available for students in spring semester. And maybe it is an ideal time to do it because of COVID-19, you know, that we can deliver this programming wherever a student is. You know, and you mentioned wanting to have put an actual camera in the hands of your students, so they have the experience of operating more than a phone, even though those iPhones and those you know, the Android phones, the newer ones, have really high quality,
Yeah.
are capable of really high quality video, but it's not quite the same as operating a camera. So the idea of maybe having colleges that really want to buy into this and really create the opportunity, that they would invest, you know, not a lot, but invest something in setting up a media lab on campus. And the beauty of this idea, I think, is that you set up a lab, you set up some sort of a mechanism for managing the lab, opening it, locking it, securing it, having students check out the equipment. You don't have to invest in a lot of additional staff or faculty or at all, because it's all being delivered, you know, at a distance.
Yeah, and even like my one of the other classes I require for my media degree is mass communication. And it was funny because like one of my friends, he works for High Country News as a reporter, and he was commenting on, he's like, I really wish they would teach media literacy in college, you know, offer it as a course. And I was like, I teach media literacy from my mass comm class. Like that was our first chapter was on media literacy. But again, to open it up to more students, because that's kind of like a general ed requirement around most colleges. And so, but the way I teach it is from a Native perspective, looking at issues that Native people face, as well as like our, you know, our tribal newspapers or tribal media. And, you know, it's unfortunate, like Gila River has a great video broadcasting system. And I always try and reach out to them and say, hey, you need to send your students to me, and then, you know, they can go back and run the station. And, you know, it's like, here we have the perfect offer now, because they were saying that, well, they don't want to leave home. And so it's like, well, now they can do it online and learn this stuff and work at your TV station, fulfilling the needs for your tribe. So, you know, those are things that I think, you know, we could present to Adobe to like keep up a partnership. You know, you're helping us create these native media people. And I wanted to introduce, so the editor of our newspaper I invited him to the Zoom call. It's Jared Nally, and he's here right now. I don't know, Jared, did you want to say anything as a student learning some of the stuff with the Photoshop and InDesign?
Hi, Jackie, Jared Wenzugani, Nila Miamia. My name's Jared Nally. I'm Miami Tribe of Oklahoma. And as Rhonda introduced me, I'm the editor for the Indian Leader. We use a lot of Adobe products to put the newspaper together and design specifically for newspaper layouts. And I think they're really good skills to learn, not just as our time as a student, but giving back to our tribal communities. We have one writer, Kayla Boyney, who's doing work with the Kiowa tribe. And these kind of skill sets are creating opportunities for us to engage with our tribal newspapers or other media outlets. I know I'm looking and talking to the person that puts together my tribal newspaper and understanding the differences between creating a publication that's meant for everyone and one that's just specific to our tribal members, and kind of the challenges of keeping some of that information close to home, but accessible for all of our community members. So there's those like intellectual property rights that I wouldn't have learned if I wouldn't have done this in a native context at our school.
Yeah, that's fantastic. When you graduate from Haskell, are you planning to continue with media and maybe working in the news media or?
I'm still figuring out what I want to do. My main passion is with textiles, and so I might do work with mediated work to help bring some of the skills with indigenous textiles and revitalization work and spreading that to my tribal community members. I do always foresee myself writing or working with our tribal newspaper, but that's not like a full-time gig. So I just see other ways of media and having worked here, working its way into the passions that I want to do.
That's fantastic. So really your media interests are much broader than digital media. You're actually physical media also.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. It's not only just journalism. I have a student who works for their museum, their tribal museum, and they're using the skills that they learned from the video classes to record elders and have them put in their museum, so they're saving their stories. So it's, you know, branching out where he never really thought about where is he going to use this video production class. Now he's using it to help his museum and collect stories from the elders.
That's really, and that's exactly the kind of thing we'd like to encourage more students to do. And the idea you mentioned with stories, also with language, recording elders speaking the language and incorporating those videos into instruction and providing resources to language teachers, language instructors. So all those, I mean, there's just a whole range of different ways that we can, we would like to help faculty and students use these media tools to further, you know, tribal community goals like language and culture and economic development. Yeah, and you have to start with training. If you don't know how to work the tools, you're not going to do much with them.
And especially now, like with everything online, having to learn how to do all this stuff. Like I just got an email today from a former alumni was looking for a video person because their church went online and they need someone to run the camera and that can hook it up so it can stream online and that they could put text on there. And I was just like, wow, that's, you know, kind of crazy now. This is what they need. And this is, you know, we could fulfill that need, but she was looking for somebody, you know, in our area that could do that. And so it's just interesting how many opportunities there are out there. And I think, opening up the classes through an MOU could really definitely help. I mean, like I said, I'd already talked with my dean about that, and what we have to do to do that. I would like to at least try a little bit start in that, and maybe at least have one class ready for the spring.
I think that sounds fantastic. Have one class ready for the spring. That we would lay the groundwork between now and the spring with the MOUs and sort of the whole plan for delivering the course, or working with the colleges who are going to be making it available to their students. Yeah, we definitely can do that. We can definitely work on that, and it might be worth a meeting. We have our board meeting. The AIC board is all the presidents of the colleges, and the next meeting is going to be mid-October. Maybe we can get this on the agenda for one of the committees and get the board to vote on a resolution saying, yeah, we support this this initiative and encourage the colleges to participate. They're not going to do an MOU on behalf of all the colleges, but certainly they can help encourage a good number, hopefully, to participate.
I mean, I think that, there's like II has an incredible array of stuff for their film students. And, like that's something I know like my students would love to learn how to do. But, my background is in journalism, video stuff, not necessarily films. And so, if we could help each other out and figure out how we can do that, I think that would be great.
Well, that's going to have to be one of our meetings upcoming with IIA, Navotech, College of Nomination, I think, has a media person, or Fond du Lac has a media person. A small group. There's somebody at Chanteska, small group of 6 or 7 or 8 to kind of maybe work out, and obviously Lasagvik to work out what this could look like, and then present it to the board. I think that's a super idea. In fact, it's not just an idea, it's something we need to do.
Yeah, I mean, the opportunity's there now. I mean, we really need to grasp it. I know like my predecessor, she had laid the groundwork for starting a journalism degree at Haskell, and it never quite lifted off. But now with things that we're looking at, we're even looking at doing stuff with just our Indigenous Studies department and doing like native video stuff and associated with that. But I mean, I just think that, if we don't start the work on it, it's just gonna go away like, what happened prior. So, but now we have a really great opportunity to do that. And I think now more people are getting on board, especially with the online learning stuff. So
it really is a good time. It definitely is a really good time. And I won't even get into the topic, which I think absolutely needs to be part of this whole, array of training and support, is gaming design, Indigenous games. But that's for a later discussion. Does anybody else have any comments on anything that we've talked about, or even something unrelated or marginally related?
Kind of just to continue on with what we were saying, with media needing to be something we do now and what our generation is doing. So my tribe couldn't do our national gathering, which is where we culturally get together every year. And so they started a program called Totan Tiwi, which is Let's Talk About It. And it is all mediated through online platforms. And part of that I've been asked to do video tutorials for finger weaving, so we can do some of those same cultural craft things that we typically share during National Gathering Week, but are able to do that in homes. So right now I'm having to learn how to film things and playing around with green screens. And so there are things we are doing right now, and our elders are looking at us because we're supposed to have those skills to be able to bring this and share it.
Yeah, that's great. And that reminds me, the student congress. There was a year or two ago, maybe 3 years ago now. There was this idea that they had. There's members of the student congress are the executive, committee, the student governments of all the tribal colleges. They have their presidents and vice presidents they all comprise the AHEC student congress. And they had this idea of, kind of getting to know each other's culture better. And so they all, or a bunch of them, not all of them, they did little videos of some, with some cultural theme or other, and passed them around. The idea being, just to get to have students get to understand each other a little bit better. Yeah, I mean, for all the talking that we do, it's really the students that do all the heavy lifting and have the great ideas, which I think that's a good thing.
So did you say when Adobe was going to be giving out those licenses?
It's still in the works.
Okay.
Yuta might have more recent information or better information, because she's the one that's leaning on Matt more. But the idea was, or at least he thought it could get done this month.
Yeah, definitely. I did confirm that with him, and I'll be meeting with him on Thursday and make sure that that's the case, and express to him the urgency of getting the licenses out so students can start work.
And then there's the possibility of Microsoft. Have they responded yet?
Yeah, so I actually had a meeting where I sort of pitted one against the other, not really, but so they compete in terms of what they were willing to give. And there was even Google willing to give their spatial, that's why the other reason I brought up mapping, they're willing to give their mapping tools. So, I mean, the mapping tools are open anyways, but the cloud storage for the geolocation tagging and the necessary tools to create maps. But Microsoft is also willing to help with the game authoring, VR, AR, XR tools, and and even some haptic tools, meaning I don't know if haptic tools, meaning the tools that create tactile environments and manipulatable 3D objects and things like that.
That's really exciting. Yeah, that would help. That would put Indigenous design on a new level. So
yeah, certainly the things like the finger weaving, you could actually create an environment where you feel what it's like to do some of those tactile skills.
that's interesting. So you could actually teach finger weaving at a distance with the right haptic experience.
Right. There's these things called hand over hand instructions, where you have a mechanical glove that can, yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of somewhat crazy things you can do.
Well, and we want to put those opportunities to learn those tools and help design new tools in the hands of our students. That's what we want to do.
Yeah. So Bryce, I will introduce the person at Microsoft to. He created the gaming device, but is moving on to different haptic devices. So the idea there is not just software licenses, but hardware devices and how we ship them out. as well.
How to ship the hardware devices, the haptic or whatever kinds of
Yeah, the game controllers, the haptic devices, the goggles, the gloves, all of the AR, VR, XR systems. There are some that work on native portable, like smartphones and things like that, but a bunch of them depend upon other hardware that needs to be used. So it's going to be a bit more complicated, and the students that can benefit from it will be a little bit more limited.
And would that be, this is way too early to even explore the idea too much until we hear more from them, but would they be actually contributing some equipment that could,
That's what I'm trying to get them to do, is to give us equipment.
And so we might maybe set up regional labs, a Southwest lab, a Great Plains, a Woodlands lab, because I don't think, or would they, would they equip, 25, 20, however colleges want to participate, labs? Would they be willing to do that?
Well, so at the moment, I've been talking about just hardware toolkits, because they did that for us before, where they send us these toolkits to equip one person to do, last time we had a partnership with Taking IT Global and Microsoft provided the toolkit for a number of Indigenous students in the remote North. So we sent out the toolkits, but I think they're open. We should definitely talk about a lab as well.
Come to think of it, we don't have a whole lot of time left to discuss the idea, but we're a couple tribal colleges, Navajo Tech and Bay Mills, possibly Bay Mills, but definitely Navajo Tech, are exploring one of these large engineering research center grants with MIT as the lead. The Center for Bits and Atoms, Neil Gershenfeld, that's his lab. The idea of putting the whole, design and manufacturing capability out into the communities. So what I'm thinking is that the instrumentation or the equipment that we're talking about Microsoft donating or providing, that maybe there's a fairly large subset of that equipment that the colleges could be manufacturing on their own with this 3D, additive digital manufacturing equipment. Anyway, that's for a later discussion, I think. It
would be interesting to maybe invite somebody to talk about VR, just to explain a little bit about it and go through. I'm just asking because I know someone who works with VR who actually did a big project with Microsoft here in Seattle. So I just came to my mind that maybe somebody who could want to talk about it, just go through it and about it, but I don't know. I'm sure.
I'm supposed to give a keynote at the end of the week for the a European concert.
There we go.
VR. Well,
really?
No, but the topic is because back in the first wave of VR, XR, AR, I created a conference in San Francisco on virtual reality, and so that it's this VR then, VR now type of thing. So it would be really
perfect.
To talk with someone who's leading the charge right now as well. Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I think I was gonna say the same thing, so go ahead.
well, I mean, so it sounds like a great topic for a future workshop, the VR, AR, augmented reality, virtual reality, and what was the other one?
XR is the combination of the two, but it's extended reality, yeah.
Do you all think that would be a good topic for next week? Or is it a little too soon for that? What do you all think? we're at the close of our today's workshop. So one thing we do talk about is the topic for the next week.
I think it's a good idea, but that's my vote. You know, everybody?
I think it'd be a good idea.
Do you? Okay. And Yuta, would you want to do the presentation, or should
Maybe in combination with the person that Moema knows.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Well, I will see if they're available. If not, would you want to do it, Jutta, just you?
Sure, I can
have to talk to them.
I have to prepare this keynote anyways. I could do that. The other topics we were talking about as well was the notion of mapping or gaming or creating games and game authoring as well.
Yeah, well, we kind of touched on that with Twine, but we could certainly go much more depth.
Right. Yeah, we did. Well, that was a text-based game, but I was thinking game authoring environments that went beyond text, that went into
3D, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I mean, since we do have you fresh off your presentation in VR on Friday.
Yeah, sure, I could do it. Yeah.
That'd be great. So do we need to prepare do we have to have headsets for the workshop next week?
No, but I could invite you to a three-dimensional environment, and we could have the action. Well, I can do it in the middle. I can then present in the chat an invitation to a 3D environment. You'd all have to choose an avatar, and we could interact. It would be great to create a whole bunch of avatars that are express sort of tribal customs and things like that.
That would be a blast.
Yeah.
And that reminds me, I forgot to check it out, but this whole, was it all last week was Burning Man, and it was all virtual? Anybody know?
I heard something about it, but I did not see anything.
Yeah, that's what I heard. It was like
people were posting about missing it and all of that.
Yeah, all VR. I mean, it's like very VR, very virtual reality and augmented reality, you know, and all these guys, all these teams put together their version of a Burning Man experience in virtual reality. Anyway, so I guess nobody saw it. Okay. So we have some work to do. I need to talk to our folks about getting something on the agenda for the board, or at least to get this discussion going for the MOUs, to recruit colleges. Well, we have some behind the scenes work to do on that. And maybe we can talk offline, Moema and Rhonda, about how we'll do that.
And recruit Josie to.
Yes.
Oh, and recruit Josie. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'll shoot her an email.
Okay.
This afternoon. Yeah. I mean, she's available. That's crazy that we haven't taken advantage of her generosity to volunteer to work with us.
Yeah.
So we're good for next week. Anything else that we should touch on before we call it a workshop?
Please, everybody, keep inviting students, faculty, colleagues, friends that may have interest.
Yeah, Jared, if you
have
any of your friends, invite them to the workshop.
Yeah.
I would like to also request some of us that are in the beginning stages. I know you've shared a lot on the Zoom meeting, but maybe some notes that can be shared with us. Maybe I don't know how to access those.
Yeah, so they're available on the wiki. Usually we share the slides that we present or the links to the things that we share.